I never thought a birthday gift could destroy everything I believed about my life. When my sister handed me that DNA test kit in front of my entire family, laughing as she called me someone else's mistake, I assumed it was just another cruel joke, another way to remind me I never quite belonged. But when I actually took that test, when those results came back, they didn't just reveal who my father was, they exposed a decades-old conspiracy that had been buried, paid for, and protected by everyone I trusted. And the people who kept that secret, they're still watching. I turned 15 on a Thursday in late September. The kind of day where the air smells like damp leaves and everything feels a little heavy, a little sad. I remember because Melanie had just gotten back from some cheerleading camp, and the whole house revolved around her stories, her trophies, her everything. My birthday cake was store-bought, chocolate with vanilla frosting, the same one Mom grabbed every year because she said I wasn't picky enough to deserve homemade. I didn't mind. I'd learned not to mind a lot of things by then. What I did mind was the way Mom looked at me that morning when I came downstairs. Not with love, not even with indifference. It was something else, something close to resentment, maybe even fear. She handed me a card with $20 inside and told me to go buy myself something nice. No hug, no happy birthday, sweetheart. Just $20 and a look that made my stomach turn. Melanie didn't even acknowledge me until dinner. She was too busy on the phone with her boyfriend, twirling her hair and laughing that high-pitched laugh she used when she wanted attention. Jade sat across from me, picking at her nails, barely eating. She looked uncomfortable, like she knew something I didn't. And maybe she did. Maybe they all did. Dad wasn't home again. He was on some long haul through Nebraska or Wyoming or wherever he went to avoid being a father. I used to make excuses for him, tell myself he was working hard to provide for us, but deep down, I knew the truth. He just didn't want to be there, especially not for me. After dinner, I went upstairs to my room. It was small, cramped, with wallpaper that was peeling at the corners and a window that never quite closed all the way. I could hear everything through the walls in that house. Every argument, every whispered conversation, every secret my mother thought she was keeping. That night, I heard her voice coming from the kitchen, low and sharp. She was talking to someone on the phone. I pressed my ear against the floor vent, the one that carried sound from downstairs straight into my room like a confessional line I was never supposed to access. "I don't know what you expect me to do." Richard, her voice cracked, angry and desperate. She's 15 now. She's going to start asking questions. She already looks at me like she knows something's wrong. Richard. I didn't know any Richard. Not then. I can't tell her, Mom continued, her voice dropping even lower. Harold would leave me. Melanie would never forgive me. And Lauren. God, Lauren would never understand. She's too soft, too naive. She'd fall apart. My heart started pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. I held my breath, straining to hear more. I made a mistake, Richard. One mistake. And I've spent 15 years paying for it. Every time I look at her, I see you. I see what I did. And I hate myself for it. The line went dead. I heard the phone clatter onto the counter. Then I heard my mother cry. Not the loud, dramatic kind of crying Melanie did when she didn't get her way. This was different. Quiet, broken, the kind of crying that comes from shame. I sat there on my bedroom floor, staring at the vent, trying to process what I'd just heard. One mistake. 15 years. Every time I look at her, I see you. I wanted to believe I'd misunderstood, that it was about something else, someone else. But I knew. Even then, at 15, I knew I wasn't Harold Pierce's daughter. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying my mother's words over and over until they didn't even sound like words anymore. Just noise. Just pain. When the sun came up, I went downstairs like nothing had happened. Because that's what you did in our house? You pretended? You smiled. You swallowed the truth until it poisoned you from the inside out. Mom was making coffee. She didn't look at me. "Morning," I said, testing the water. "Morning," she replied, flat and distant. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her by the shoulders and demand answers. But I didn't. Because I was too soft. Too naive. Just like she said. So I stayed quiet. I went to school. I came home. I lived my life like I hadn't just discovered I was built on a lie. And for years, I convinced myself it didn't matter. That biology didn't define family. That Harold was still my father, even if his blood didn't run through my veins. But the thing about secrets is, they don't stay buried forever. They wait, they grow, and eventually they claw their way to the surface. Uglier and more destructive than you ever imagined. My secret waited 36 years. Until last September. Until my 51st birthday. Until my sister Melanie stood in my living room holding a DNA test kit like a weapon, and said the words that shattered everything I'd spent decades pretending didn't matter. "Happy birthday, Lauren." Or should I say, happy birthday to another man's mistake? I stared at that DNA test kit like it was a live grenade. The box was cold in my hands, clinical and sterile, with its cheerful blue and white packaging, promising answers you can trust. Melanie's smile was sharp enough to draw blood. She was enjoying this. Every second of my humiliation was feeding something dark and satisfied inside her. "What's wrong, Lauren?" she said, tilting her head with mock concern. "You look pale, like you've seen a ghost." I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up completely. Around the table, faces blurred together. Aunt Barbara clutched her pearls like she was watching a car accident. Uncle Louis had that same smug expression he always wore when someone else was being torn down. Jade stared at her plate, refusing to meet my eyes. And my mother. God, my mother looked terrified. Not sad. Not apologetic. Terrified. "Melanie, that's enough," Mom said, her voice barely above a whisper. But there was no authority in it. No real demand for her to stop. It was the kind of protest you make when you know you've already lost enough. Melanie laughed, loud and theatrical. "Mom, I'm just giving her what she's always wanted. Clarity, truth. She's been walking around this family for 51 years, acting like she belongs here, and we all know she doesn't. Dad knew it. You knew it. Hell, even Jade knew it." Jade flinched but said nothing. Ethan stood up so fast his chair scraped against the floor. "That's my mother you're talking about," he said, his voice shaking with barely controlled rage. "And I don't care what test you wave around or what lies you've been telling yourself. She's worth 10 of you." Melanie rolled her eyes. "Oh, here we go. The loyal son routine. How touching." "Stop it," I finally managed to say. My voice sounded hollow, like it was coming from somewhere far away. "Just stop." But Melanie wasn't done. She never was. She leaned forward, elbows on the table, eyes gleaming with something cruel and victorious. "You want to know the best part, Lauren? The reason you were always treated differently? The reason Dad could barely look at you? It's because everyone in this room knows you're not his. Everyone except you, apparently. Although, let's be honest, you've always suspected, haven't you?" The room went silent. Even Aunt Barbara stopped clutching her pearls. I thought about that night when I was 15. My mother's voice through the vent. "One mistake. 15 years. Every time I look at her, I see you." I'd buried it so deep I'd almost convinced myself I'd imagined it. But I hadn't. It had been real. All of it. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "Who's my father?" My mother's face crumpled. "Lauren, please. Not here. Not like this." "Who is he?" I repeated, louder this time. Melanie opened her mouth to answer, that same cruel smile spreading across her face. But before she could say a word, the front door opened. Not a knock. Not a polite entrance. Just the door swinging open like whoever was on the other side had every right to walk in. Unannounced, everyone turned and there, standing in the doorway with the evening light behind him, was Caleb Monroe. I hadn't seen him in 36 years. Not since his family vanished without explanation the week after my 15th birthday. But I recognized him instantly. The same dark eyes, the same sharp jawline, the same way of standing like he was ready to either fight or run depending on which way the wind blew. He was older now, grayer lines etched deep around his eyes, but it was him. "Hello, Grace," he said, looking directly at my mother. His voice was calm, almost gentle, but there was something underneath it, something hard and unforgiving. My mother went white, actually white, like every drop of blood had drained from her face. "Caleb," she whispered, "you can't be here, can't I?" He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "Funny, I got a call about 2 weeks ago. Anonymous. Someone told me Lauren was finally asking questions. Someone told me it was time." Melanie's smile faltered, just for a second, but I saw it. Caleb's eyes swept across the room, taking in the scene. The birthday cake? The champagne glasses? The DNA test kit still sitting in front of me like evidence at a crime scene. Then his gaze landed on me, and something in his expression softened. "Hello, Lauren," he said quietly. "Happy birthday." I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The pieces were there, scattered across the table like shards of broken glass, but I couldn't put them together. Not yet. Not with everyone staring. Not with my mother looking like she was about to collapse. "You need to leave," Mom said, standing up on shaky legs. "Caleb, please. You promised. You promised you'd stay away." "I promised a lot of things, Grace," Caleb said, his voice hardening. "But I'm done keeping promises to people who built their lives on lies." He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. Old, yellowed with age, the edges frayed. He placed it on the table in front of me. "This is yours," he said. "It's always been yours. I tried to give it to you when you were 15, but Grace made sure that never happened. She made sure I disappeared before you could ask the questions she was afraid to answer." My hands were shaking as I reached for the envelope. I could feel everyone watching, waiting. The air in the room was so thick I could barely breathe inside. Was a photograph. Old. Faded. A Polaroid from the 80s. It showed a teenage boy and a teenage girl sitting on a porch swing. They were laughing, close together, her head on his shoulder. The girl was my mother, younger, happier than I'd ever seen her. The boy was Caleb. The folder slipped from my hands, papers scattering across my mother's dining room table like accusations. Financial records, legal documents, photographs of people I didn't know holding me as a baby, evidence of a life I'd never lived, choices I'd never made, a father I'd never met. No, I whispered, shaking my head. No, this isn't real. This can't be real. But Caleb's face told me everything I needed to know. This was real. All of it. Ethan crouched down beside me, gathering the papers with shaking hands. He picked up the photograph, the one of my mother with a stranger holding infant me, and his face went hard. "Grandma," he said, his voice cold in a way I'd never heard before. "What did you do?" My mother was crying now, ugly broken sobs that made her whole body shake. "I did what I had to do," she choked out. "I did what was best for everyone." Best for everyone, I heard myself say, and I barely recognized my own voice. It was sharp, cutting. Nothing like the soft, accommodating tone I'd spent 51 years perfecting. "You let me grow up thinking I was unwanted. You let Harold treat me like a burden. You let Melanie torture me for being different. And all this time, somewhere out there was a man who actually wanted me." "It wasn't that simple," Mom said, reaching for me. I pulled back so violently, I nearly knocked over my chair. Don't you dare touch me." Melanie had gone very quiet. Her face had lost all its color, all its cruel satisfaction. She was staring at Caleb like he was a bomb that had just gone off in the middle of her perfectly constructed world. "You said he was dead," she whispered to our mother. "You told Dad that Lauren's biological father was dead? You said that's why we could never tell her?" "I lied," Mom said flatly. "I lied to protect this family. Protect this family." I stood up, the chair scraping violently behind me. "Or protect yourself." Caleb cleared his throat, drawing everyone's attention back to him. He looked uncomfortable, like he was about to deliver news that would hurt me even more than what I'd already heard. "Lauren, there's more. Things you need to understand about why your mother did what she did. It doesn't excuse it, but it explains it." "I don't want explanations," I said. "I want his name." "The man in the photo?" "My father. What's his name?" The room held its breath. "Richard Ashford," Caleb said quietly. "He was your mother's high school sweetheart. They were together for 3 years before she met Harold. When Richard got accepted to medical school in Boston, your mother was supposed to go with him, but Grace's parents forbade it. They said she was too young, that she needed to stay home, finish community college, be sensible." I looked at my mother. She wouldn't meet my eyes, Caleb continued. Grace was devastated. "Richard left for Boston thinking she'd follow when she turned 19. But your grandmother introduced Grace to Harold. Instead, solid, local, uncomplicated. A man who wouldn't take her daughter away to some fancy city. Grace married him 6 months later. But she was pregnant," I said. The pieces clicking into place. "She was already pregnant with me." "Yes," Caleb confirmed. "She found out 2 weeks before the wedding. She never told Harold. Never told Richard. She just ... pretended. Hoped the dates would work out. Hoped the baby would look enough like Harold that no one would question it. But I didn't," I said hollowly. "I looked like Richard." My mother finally looked up, her face streaked with tears and mascara. "You looked exactly like him," she whispered. "From the moment you were born, those eyes, that face, Harold knew immediately. But he married me anyway. He said we'd make it work. He said he'd love you like his own. But he didn't," Ethan said, his voice thick with anger. "He barely spoke to her. He was gone more than he was home. He made her feel invisible. He tried," Mom insisted weakly. "In the beginning, he really tried. But every time he looked at you, he saw Richard. He saw my betrayal, and it ate away at him until there was nothing left." I thought about all those years, all those birthdays where Dad barely acknowledged me, all those school events he missed, all those times I'd tried so hard to make him proud, to make him love me, and he'd just look through me like I wasn't there. "Where is he?" I asked Caleb. "Richard, where is he now?" "Denver," Caleb said. "He's a cardiac surgeon at Presbyterian Medical Center. He never married, never had other children. When I contacted him 2 months ago to tell him about you, he broke down. Said he'd been searching for Grace for years after medical school, but she'd disappeared. Changed her phone number, moved, cut off all their mutual friends. He thought she'd moved on, found someone else, forgotten about him. She made sure he'd never find her," I said, understanding now. "Because if he found her, he'd find out about me. And I'd lose everything," Mom whispered. "Harold would leave, the family would be destroyed. Melanie's reputation would be ruined. People would talk. They'd judge. I couldn't let that happen. So you sacrificed me instead," I said. The words came out calm, almost detached. like I was talking about someone else's life. You let me grow up feeling unwanted and wrong and like I didn't belong anywhere, all so you could protect your reputation. Lauren, please, does he want to meet me? I interrupted, looking at Caleb. Richard, does he want to meet me? Caleb's expression softened. He's waiting outside in his car. Has been for the past 20 minutes. I told him I needed to talk to you first. Explain everything before he came in. He didn't want to overwhelm you. The room erupted. Melanie gasped. Uncle Louis started shouting. Aunt Barbara clutched her chest like she was having a heart attack. Ryan, who'd been silent this whole time, suddenly found his voice. This is insane. Lauren, you can't seriously be considering get out, I said to him. You have no right to be here. You have no say in my life. Get out. For once, Ryan didn't argue. He grabbed his jacket and left, slamming the door behind him. I turned to Caleb, my heart hammering so hard I thought everyone in the room could hear it. He's really out there. Right now? Caleb nodded. He's been looking for you for 36 years. Lauren? He never stopped. The key was small and brass, worn smooth from years of being handled. It sat in my palm like a promise, like proof that somewhere out there, someone had been thinking about me, planning for me, hoping I'd find my way to the truth. Box 417 at First National Bank, Caleb said. It's been there since 1989. Daniel opened it the year after your mother signed the agreement. He couldn't contact you directly, but he made sure that when you finally learned the truth, you'd have everything you needed to understand what happened. I closed my fingers around the key, feeling its weight. 36 years of secrets, 36 years of lies, all locked away in a metal box, waiting for me to be brave enough to open it. My mother was still sobbing, collapsed in her chair like a puppet with cut strings. Melanie stood frozen by the window, her face a mask of shock and fury. The golden child, the perfect daughter, watching her kingdom crumble around her. Good. Let it crumble. Let her feel what I'd felt my entire life. I want to see him, I said to Caleb. Daniel, I want to meet him, Lauren. No. My mother's voice was ragged, desperate. Please, you don't understand what you're doing. If you open that door, if you let him in, everything will change. Your life, Ethan's life, everything we've built. Everything you've built on lies, I corrected her. My voice was steady now, stronger than I'd ever heard it. Everything you built by stealing my father from me? By making me believe I was unwanted and wrong and broken? You don't get to tell me what to do anymore. You don't get to protect your secrets by keeping me in the dark. She's right, Grandma, Ethan said quietly. He'd moved to stand beside me, his hand on my shoulder. My son, my anchor. The one person in this family who'd never made me feel like I had to apologize for existing. You don't get to control this anymore. Melanie finally found her voice. This is going to destroy us, she hissed. Do you understand that? When people find out that Mom lied, that Harold raised someone else's child, that there was money involved and legal agreements and cover-ups, this will ruin the Pierce name. It'll ruin everything Dad worked for. Dad worked for a lie, I said simply. And maybe it's time people knew the truth. Uncle Louis stood up, his face red with rage. Now, you listen here, Lauren. This family has reputation in this community. Your mother made a mistake, yes, but she did what she had to do to protect us all. You dragging up ancient history and playing victim isn't going to help anyone. Playing victim? I repeated, my voice dangerously quiet. I was a victim, Uncle Louis. I was a child who grew up thinking her father couldn't stand to look at her. I was a teenager who heard her mother call her a mistake through a heating vent. I was a woman who spent 51 years dimming herself because everyone in this room taught me that's what I deserved. So forgive me if I'm not concerned about protecting your reputation. Aunt Barbara, who'd been revived by Nurse Carla's smelling salts, clutched her chest dramatically. This is ungodly, she wheezed. Pastor Raymond, tell her what happens to children who dishonor their parents. Pastor Raymond stepped forward, his face arranged in what he probably thought was benevolent concern. Lauren, my child, I understand you're upset, but Exodus 20 verse 12 tells us to honor our father and mother. Your mother made choices she thought were best. Forgiveness is, don't. I cut him off. Don't you dare stand there and quote scripture at me. You knew, didn't you? You were part of this? The pastor's face flickered, just for a second, but I saw it. Guilt, recognition. You officiated their wedding, I continued, the pieces falling into place. You knew Mom was pregnant? You knew the baby wasn't Harold's, and you performed the ceremony anyway. You helped her cover it up. Pastor Raymond's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Caleb's expression darkened. Is that true, Raymond? Were you part of the conspiracy? It wasn't a conspiracy, the pastor said weakly. It was mercy. Grace came to me in tears, pregnant and terrified. Harold loved her, was willing to raise the child as his own. I simply helped facilitate a marriage that would give that child a stable home and a good name. A good name, I repeated bitterly. Is that what you call 51 years of feeling like I didn't belong anywhere? A good name. Before anyone could answer, headlights swept across the living room window. A car was pulling into the driveway, slow, deliberate. The engine purred to a stop, and for a moment, no one moved. No one breathed. Then my mother's face went from white to gray. Actually gray, like all the blood had drained from her body at once? No, she whispered. No, not her. Anyone but her. Melanie's head whipped toward the window. Who is it? Who's out there? Caleb moved to the window, peered out, and his jaw tightened. I should have known she'd find out. Nothing stays secret from her for long. Who? I demanded. Caleb, who is it? The car door opened. Heels clicked on the pavement, sharp and purposeful. And then a woman appeared in the porch light. Tall, elegant, probably in her mid-70s, but carrying herself like royalty. Silver hair pulled back in a perfect bun. Expensive coat? Cold, assessing eyes that seemed to see through walls. She didn't knock. She simply opened the door like she owned the place and stepped inside. The room fell silent. The woman's gaze swept across all of us before landing on my mother. When she spoke, her voice was cultured, controlled, and absolutely merciless. "Hello, Grace," she said. "It's been a long time." My mother couldn't speak, could barely breathe. The woman turned to me and something in her expression softened, just slightly. "And you must be Lauren. I'm Catherine Rhodes, Daniel's mother." She paused, letting that sink in. "Your grandmother." Catherine Rhodes stood in the center of my mother's living room like a queen surveying a battlefield she'd already won. Everything about her radiated power and control. The kind of control that came from money, influence, and decades of making people bend to her will. My mother finally found her voice, though it came out as barely more than a rasp. "Catherine, please, you promised you'd stay away. We had an agreement." "Agreements change when laws are broken, Grace," Catherine said coolly. "And when my son's daughter is publicly humiliated on her birthday by your vicious little golden child over there, I consider that agreement null and void." Melanie flinched like she'd been slapped. I was still trying to process what was happening. This woman, this stranger, was claiming to be my grandmother, which meant everything Caleb had told me about Daniel Rhodes being my father was true. Not a trick, not a manipulation, true. "I don't understand," I said, my voice shaking. "If you're Daniel's mother, if you knew about me all these years, why didn't you ever try to contact me? Why did you let them keep me from him?" Catherine's expression softened, and for the first time I saw something human beneath the polished exterior. Pain, regret. "Because I was told you'd been placed for adoption," she said quietly. "Your mother convinced Daniel that she'd given you to a good family, that you'd have a better life without him. He was devastated, but he was also barely 22 years old. Drowning in medical school debt, working 3 jobs just to survive. He thought he was doing what was best for you. That's a lie." My mother screamed. "I never told him that. I told him I miscarried. I told him the baby didn't survive." The room went deathly silent. Even Catherine looked shocked. "You told him what?" My mother was shaking, tears streaming down her face. "I told him I lost the baby. I had to. If he'd known she survived, he never would have stopped looking. He would have fought for her, taken me to court. Destroyed everything Harold and I were trying to build." "So you let him grieve a child who wasn't dead," Catherine said, her voice like ice. "You let my son spend 36 years mourning a daughter who was alive and living 2 states away. Do you have any idea what that did to him? Do you have any concept of the damage you caused?" "I did what I had to do to survive," my mother shouted back. "I was 19 years old, pregnant and terrified. My parents would have disowned me if they'd found out I was carrying another man's child. Harold offered me a way out, and I took it." "At my daughter's expense," I said quietly. Everyone turned to look at me. "You built your entire life on my pain? Your marriage, your reputation, your perfect little family with Melanie. All of it was bought with my father's grief and my confusion. You let me grow up thinking I was unwanted, broken, wrong. And all this time, there was a man out there who thought I was dead." "Lauren, I'm sorry," my mother whispered. "I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to hurt you this much." "But you knew it would," Ethan said, his voice hard. "You knew every single day what you were doing to her, and you did it anyway. That's not a mistake, Grandma. That's a choice." Before anyone could respond, the sound of a car engine cut through the tension. Not Catherine's elegant sedan still parked in the driveway. Something else. Something larger, heavier, the kind of vehicle that announces its presence like a threat. Caleb moved to the window again. And this time, his entire body went rigid. "Damn it," he muttered. Damn it, what?" I asked, fear creeping up my spine. "Caleb, what is it?" He turned to face me, and I'd never seen him look so worried. "Lauren, I need you to listen to me very carefully. What I'm about to tell you is going to sound insane, but I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. "Your mother wasn't lying when she said this was bigger than just a paternity issue," Caleb said quickly. The money she took, the agreement she signed, it wasn't just about keeping Daniel away from you. It was about keeping you away from a government program that your biological father had discovered. A program he was investigating. A program that got him forced out of military intelligence and nearly killed. My blood ran cold. What kind of program? The kind that tracks certain genetic markers, Caleb said. The kind that's been monitoring specific family lines for decades. Daniel stumbled across it in 1988 while investigating financial irregularities in military medical research. When he started asking questions, they threatened his career, his life, and yours. That's when your mother was approached. That's when she was paid to disappear and make sure you were never connected to him. That's insane, Melanie said. You're saying there's some kind of government conspiracy around Lauren? Lauren? She's nobody. She's Daniel Rhodes' daughter, Catherine interrupted, her voice sharp, which makes her the granddaughter of Senator Michael Rhodes, one of the most powerful men in military oversight for 3 decades before his death, which makes her part of a bloodline that certain people have been very, very interested in controlling. The car door slammed outside, footsteps approached, heavy, measured. Military. Pastor Raymond stood up so fast he knocked over his chair. I need to leave. Right now? I can't be here when he sit down, Raymond, Catherine commanded. You've been part of this cover-up since the beginning. You don't get to run now. The pastor's face went white, but he sat. The front door opened without a knock, just like Catherine had done. But this time, the man who entered wasn't elegant or refined. He was pure authority. Mid-60s, silver haircut, military shirt, a suit that probably cost more than my car, and eyes that assessed everyone in the room like targets on a range. Senator Thomas Hargreaves. I recognized him from news broadcasts, political debates, the kind of man who appeared on television talking about national security and defense budgets. What I didn't understand was why he was standing in my mother's living room looking at me like I was a problem he needed to solve. Lauren Pierce, he said, his voice smooth and controlled. Or should I say, Lauren Rhodes. We need to talk. Caleb moved in front of me instinctively. Senator, this is an active federal investigation. You need to leave. Oh, Caleb. Hargreaves smiled, but there was no warmth in it. This stopped being just your investigation the moment she took that DNA test. Or rather, the moment she was given that DNA test. Tell me, who suggested that little birthday gift? Who planted the idea in your sister's head, Melanie? Melanie's face went from pale to gray. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, girl, Hargreaves said coldly. Someone called you 3 weeks ago? Anonymous number. Suggested that Lauren needed to know the truth about her heritage? Gave you the idea to make it public? Humiliating, impossible to ignore? Who was it? Melanie was shaking. I don't know. It was a woman's voice, she said. She said it was time Lauren stopped pretending to be a Pierce. That it would be funny. That mom would never have the guts to stop it. A woman, Hargreaves repeated, his eyes narrowing. Interesting. He turned his attention back to me, and I felt like I was being dissected under his gaze. You were never supposed to take that DNA test, Lauren. You were never supposed to know who your father was. Because the moment your genetic information entered any database, certain flags were triggered. Flags that have been dormant for 36 years. Flags that indicate you carry specific genetic markers that make you very, very valuable to certain research programs. What are you talking about? I demanded, finding my voice. What programs? What markers? The kind that predict extraordinary cognitive abilities? Hargreaves said simply. Pattern recognition? Information processing. The kind of abilities that make someone exceptionally useful in intelligence work, or exceptionally dangerous if they're not controlled. The room spun. None of this made sense. I wasn't special. I wasn't extraordinary. I was just Lauren, the daughter who never quite fit. The woman who'd spent her whole life trying to be small enough not to be a problem. You're saying my DNA is... What? Government property? I asked, my voice shaking. I'm saying your genetic profile was flagged in 1989 as part of Project Lighthouse, Hargreaves said, a program designed to track and monitor individuals with specific inherited traits that indicated potential for enhanced intelligence capabilities. Your grandfather, Senator Michael Rhodes, was one of the program's architects before he died. Your father, Daniel, discovered the program and tried to expose it. That's why he was forced out. That's why your mother was paid to make you disappear. And that's why Harold died, Caleb added quietly. Isn't it, Senator? When he threatened to go public with what he knew about Grace's agreement and the money, he became a liability. Hargreaves didn't confirm or deny it. He didn't have to. The truth was written all over my mother's devastated face. The truck accident, I whispered. Dad's accident. It wasn't an accident. No, my mother sobbed. It wasn't. And I've lived with that guilt every single day since. Ethan's hand tightened on my shoulder. Mom, we need to leave. Right now? But Hargreaves blocked the door. I'm afraid it's too late for that. Your DNA is already in the system, Lauren. The flags have been triggered. And now, the people who've been monitoring your family for decades know exactly where you are and what you're capable of. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and for the first time, I saw something like concern cross his face. They're already here, he said quietly. The program. They've sent a retrieval team. Outside, I heard more cars pulling up, doors slamming, voices speaking in clipped, efficient tones. Catherine moved to stand beside me. Then we'd better move quickly. Daniel's waiting at the bank with the safety deposit box. Everything you need to understand what's happening is in there. Evidence, documentation, names. But we need to get you there before they lock down the city. I'm not going anywhere, I said, even though my whole body was shaking. Not until someone tells me the truth. All of it. What am I? What did they do to me? Hargreaves met my eyes, and for once, he looked almost human. Almost. Sorry. You're not what they did to you, Lauren, he said. You're what they were afraid you'd become. And based on everything I've seen tonight, I'd say their fears were justified. The front door burst. Open men in dark suits flooded in, and I realized my birthday humiliation had never been about a DNA test. That had been a trigger, a warning, and the countdown to whatever came next had already begun. If you want to know what happened when I opened that safety deposit box and discovered the full truth about Project Lighthouse, hit subscribe and turn on notifications because part 2 drops soon. Drop a comment telling me what you think my next move should be, and smash that like button if you believe some secrets should never stay buried.